Good morning. The roosters are saying good morning too. I had a hearing scheduled this morning, and a flurry of emails and phone calls between clients and counsels last night resolved the issues, and there was a stipulation waiting in my email this morning, so I don't have to work. Well, I should work, but my plans for this morning were canceled. And so because my plans for this morning were canceled, I am going to take the opportunity to go over the trial by Chille. I do want to start off with Earl news, because I find Earl news to be as fascinating or even more fascinating than Chille. Earl's the reply brief by the state has still not been, and the motion by the state for an extension of time has still not been either granted or denied. So that's where we are on that. Now, I want to give a shout out to our Nevada judges. Our Nevada judges is a great website for watching trials and things like that in Las Vegas. I'm going to post the link to our Nevada judges. I'm not trying to. That's a link in the live chat to the our Nevada judges YouTube page. They have their own website too. If you want to see the trial without me yammering on, I suggest you go to that link. I posted the Earl David Warden. I posted his interview, his police interrogation. I posted it with commentary, and I posted it without commentary. And to this day, I still get people posting comments in the version with commentary. Why don't you shut up? Why do you keep talking? And I'm like, you guys are such fucking idiots. Watch the one that doesn't have the commentary. So if you want to watch it without commentary, the link is there in the side chat. If I remember to, I'll try to put the link in the description. And another thing is, you may or may not believe this. I am a bit of an idiot, but I guess some people just cannot pick up sarcasm, like about phone numbers and using a phone number to send an SMS text as an email. It's shockingly bad. It completely destroys my faith in humanity that so many people thought that I didn't know what an SMS text to email was from AT&T, and that it was a phone number attached to it, or that I didn't know whose phone number it was, as if Chille hasn't called me and texted me, as if I didn't know his fucking phone number. You fucking cretins. Oh, you just, people are too fucking stupid, and it really hurts. And this is why democracy can never work, is because so many fucking people are so fucking stupid. Anyway, I also didn't get popcorn. I don't think anybody wanted to hear me chewing on popcorn. But just in the spirit of it, I did get some red vines, so I'll probably have a few red vines while this is going on. That's kind of movie food, right? I guess, if technically you could call it food. Anyway, we're going to do this, and I hope this is as fun as I think it is. All right. So this is going to be Chille. That's going to be me. We've got a court reporter there. That's the judge. This is going to be the witness box above Chille's left shoulder. And then you've got two attorneys for the state. I don't know why they always have two. My best guess is that they a lot of times they'll have someone to train or to assist. And then back behind the two monitors in the far right, that's going to be the court clerk. So Oh yeah, and we're gonna Nike. We are going to turn up the speed on this a little bit. We're going to turn it up to. We're gonna start off on 1.5 times speed. So I hope you can understand. If you can't understand, well, watch the replay and slow the speed down to like 0.75. I don't know. I don't care. Anyway, let's go.
All right, all those eating Castro.
Bye. Okay.
Morning, Agnes Battelle.
Are you Mr. DeCastro?
Yeah.
Can you turn off the phone, please? The one that's in your hand.
Just gonna get my lawyer. He's on his way now. I'm just waiting for him to get
All right, I'm gonna wait for your attorney, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.
Why do they keep using that picture from Chille from like 2000? That's got to be the oldest picture of Chille that they could possibly find, because he doesn't look like that anymore, folks.
All right, Jose DeCastro, 23 CR 0130115.
Good morning, Your Honor. Agnes Battelle of the paper record. Good morning, State.
Good morning, Mike. On behalf of the defendant, President People this morning.
So I have signed 2 media requests that permit recording or photographing these proceedings, but I have not granted any other requests to record or live
Can
stream
anybody else
these
hear it? I can't hear this for shit. Hold on a second. We have this turned up all the way.
I need Mr. DeCastro and everybody else who wants to stay in the courtroom to surrender their phones.
Hold on a second. It sounds like it's coming through my computer speakers. Oh boy. Oh boy. Hold on a second. Hold on a second.
I'll take one for you guys.
I need Mr. DeCastro, if y'all close pockets.
What's that?
Yeah,
Yeah,
your
your
pockets.
pockets. Your counsel judge. I have to give you my.
All right. Can everybody hear me? No, I have not watched this yet. Can everybody hear me? Damn, Agnes Botello. She's kind of cute. Can I get somebody to tell me if they can hear me? You can hear me. All right. Pilot says he can hear me. Perfect. That means my apparently I was coming through everything was through the computer and not through the earbuds. So all right. So sorry for my boomerisms. All right, now let's go.
Good morning, State.
Good morning, Mike. On behalf of the defendant, President People this morning.
So I have signed 2 media requests that permit recording or photographing these proceedings, but I have not granted any other requests to record or live stream these proceedings. So I need Mr. DeCastro and everybody else who wants to stay in the courtroom to surrender their phones, or you can leave.
I'll take one for you.
Everybody just surrender their phones. That is new and interesting. I've never had a situation where everyone had to surrender their phones. That's interesting. I wonder what the judge knows.
Any Mr. DeCastro that empty all of his pockets.
What's that?
Empty your pockets.
I've never seen him have the defendant empty all his pockets. That is also very interesting.
Your phones to the judge. I have to give you my phones?
Yeah.
My phones have to be completely off.
Yeah. I don't really want to be part of your YouTube channel. So
You already are.
great.
You already are.
Awesome.
I'm not gonna-
She knows something. She knows about his YouTube channel. Oh boy. I know nobody wants to hear this, but is that bias? Is there bias there? That's interesting.
I'm getting this guy though. I'm getting someone else.
No, they're gonna go to my marshal.
He's a pig.
Excuse me?
All right, so that was very poor form on Chille's part. Obviously, if the judge says empty your phones and give them to the marshal, or empty your pockets and give your phones to the marshal, you empty your pockets and you give the phones to the marshal. You don't make the rules in her courtroom.
I said he's a pig.
Okay. So I'm not gonna permit you to speak to anybody in my courtroom in that manner. And if you don't want to apologize, I'm gonna hold you in contempt.
I apologize to the court, Your Honor.
No, you can apologize to, they've done nothing to you.
Actually, Your Honor, when you were here, you came over and gave me a directive for no reason, started telling me what to do.
Okay, well.
I have all the respect in the world for the court. I follow the rule of law all the time.
No, it is their job to maintain the safety and security of the courtroom.
I agree with you, Your Honor.
So if you want to speak like that in my courtroom, I'm going to hold you in contempt. And if I hold you in contempt, you're going to jail. That is not my wish. Okay?
How would you do it?
All right. So I need you to empty your pockets too. Suit pocket, pants pocket.
This is illegal. This is a violation of my Fourth Amendment.
No, it isn't.
Yes, it is. I don't have any recording devices on me. What are you talking about?
How about your suit jacket?
I don't have anything on me. This is preposterous.
No, it's
This really
not.
is.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
It's me, your phone too.
They're recording everything.
They have a media request.
That's right, and I'm not recording anything. That your geiger took my.
I have never seen a court take the attorney's phones away. Well, yeah, so yes, one of my fundamental rules of courtroom etiquette is you don't piss off the judge who's going to be deciding your case. But watch how the attorney handles it versus how Chille handles it. The attorney's not going to go to jail over this. The attorney's just going to take out his phone, turn it off, and hand it over. That's all. That's the way you do it. And I mean, there's a time and a place to fight. And the time and the place to fight is not right there over this, because the court's going to get her way. It's her court. She's going to get her way. Then and there, she's going to get her way. Maybe you could appeal later. Maybe you could file a writ later. But right there and then, the court is going to get her way.
My phone, so he's on his phone's not on. You take the lawyer's phone too?
No, I'm not going to take the lawyer's phone. He's an officer of the court. All right. Do we have everybody's phones? Are they off? All right. Good. All right. All right. This is the time set for the trial is stated.
Wait, whose phone isn't she going to take?
They have a media request.
Right, and I'm not recording anything. That your geiger took my phone, so he's on his phone's not on.
Right.
You take the lawyer's phone too?
No, I'm not going to take the lawyer's phone.
Oh, she just told him to turn it off. She didn't take it. Okay.
He's an officer of the court. All right. Do we have everybody's phones? Are they off? All right. Good. All right. All right. This is the time set for the trial of State of Nevada versus Jose DeCastro, 23 CR 013015. State ready to proceed.
Yes, we are, Your Honor.
How many witnesses do you have?
We anticipate one.
All right. Is the defense ready to proceed?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. I have your request to convert counsel to standby counsel. I'm going to deny that request. Either you represent him or he should have previously requested a Feretta canvas to represent himself. But I just consider that a delay tactic, so that request is denied. Are you ready to proceed? Otherwise, I'm
Okay. So me did get to actually try the case. So that's good. I mean, at least they'll have someone competent there to make objections. I mean, that's knowing what questions to ask is important. Knowing how to ask the questions is also important. And knowing what objections to make is important. That's the role of the attorney in the courtroom, is to make sure the right questions get asked in the right way and the right objections get made. So I mean, the judge, believe this or not, I know Chille's upset about this, or he's feigning being upset about it, but the court is actually protecting Chille by making sure his counsel is there. Because when you go to appeal, you can't go to appeal and say, well, Your Honor, or well, Court of Appeal, I was representing myself and I forgot to ask this question, or I forgot to make this objection, or I didn't know how to make this objection. When you go to appeal, generally speaking, you're going to be appealing things like, well, Your Honor, or Court of Appeal, I objected to X, and the judge denied my objection. The judge overruled my objection. So that was an error, and that cost me the case. That's the kind of thing you appeal. So the judge is actually protecting Chille, just so you know.
Assuming you are.
Yes, sir.
All right, let's say, please call the first witness.
Yes, Your Honor. The state called Brandon Bork, and he's in the anteroom. Follow me over the camera.
Morning.
You're gonna remain standing. Raise your right hand, please, one more. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Please be seated. State your name for the record and spell it first and last name, please.
It's Brandon Bork. Brandon is Branden. Bork, VO.
DEN, not DON. Whoever did these little things effed up. But I mean, it's nice. It's nice that they put them in there.
URQUE.
Thank you. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Sir, good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
Sir, how are you employed?
I'm a police officer with the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department.
How long have you been employed with Metro?
Just over 8 years.
What is your, what's your occupation there? Like, where are you assigned?
I currently am a field training officer and Sergeant Area Command.
Okay. And so are you a patrol officer
Yes, ma'am.
that also trains newer officers?
Yes.
Were you employed with Metro? I'm assuming you are, because you've been employed for 8 years, back on March 15th of 2023.
Yes, I was.
Were you a patrol officer at that time?
Yes, I was.
As a patrol officer, do you wear a uniform?
Yes, I do.
Can you describe the uniform?
It would be the same uniform I'm wearing today.
Okay, so for the record, you're wearing a tan uniform with the logos, Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, located throughout your shirt.
Yes.
Okay. As a patrol officer, do you have access to or utilize a marked patrol vehicle?
Yes.
And can you describe what this marked patrol vehicle looks like?
It's black and white color and it has the LVMP's logo on all sides.
Okay. And is it also equipped with lights and sirens?
Yes.
And so you were employed as a patrol officer back on March 15th of 2023?
Yes.
At some point in time, did you conduct a traffic stop while you were working in that capacity
Yes, I did.
on that date?
Yes.
And was that for a vehicle bearing license plate 748Z, like zebra, T like Tom, B like boy?
Yes.
And why did you stop that vehicle?
I had conducted a DMV records check on that license plate and it came back expired and suspended.
And where is it that you stopped that vehicle?
It was 4155 South Grand Canyon, which is their target.
Okay. Is that over on Flamingo and Grand Canyon?
Yes.
Okay, and that's here in Las Vegas, Clark County, Nevada, sir?
Yes.
And you indicated it was for a license plate that was expired and suspended?
Yes.
So when you initiated the traffic stop, what did you do or how did you do that?
I approached the driver, let her know the reason for the stop, to obtain her identifying information, registration, insurance.
Okay, and I forgot to ask you earlier, but pursuant to your uniform and as a patrol officer, are you equipped with a body worn camera?
Yes, I am.
And you also have a radio?
Yes, I do.
Okay, and are those items, both the body worn camera and the radio, on your uniform today?
Yes, they are.
Okay, and is that how the body worn camera and or the radio were on your uniform back on March 15th of 2023?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, was your body worn camera functioning at that time?
Yes, it was functioning.
And so you made contact with the driver of that day.
Yes, I did.
How would you characterize the nature of your encounter or the nature of your encounter with that driver?
So all those questions, basically, she's authenticating the video. She's laying the groundwork so that there can be no objections for lax foundation, etc.
She was cooperative with me. I explained the reason for the stop. She seemed confused, not sure exactly how it had become suspended, but she was friendly and cooperative.
Okay, she identified herself.
She did. She got a picture of her license on her phone.
Okay. And at some point, sir, did you go back to your patrol vehicle to further your investigation?
I did.
And as you were
let me ask you this. When you effectuated the traffic stop on this vehicle, where did you park or stop your vehicle in relation to the Hyundai that you were stopping?
I parked approximately 10, 15 feet behind the stop vehicle. We ended up in a parking lot.
Okay, and was the driver the sole occupant of the vehicle?
Yes,
And so when you returned to your patrol vehicle to conduct your further investigation, was the driver within eyesight?
yes, she was.
Okay, and is it your habit and custom and also your training to keep the individual that you are, dealing with within eyesight?
Yes,
And so at some point while you were still in your vehicle, in your patrol vehicle, did something occur that's causing you to have to testify before Judge Zimmerman today?
yes, I had an unrelated person come over to start recording the traffic stop.
Okay, and we talked about your body worn camera previously, but did you activate your body worn camera prior to the traffic stop?
Yes, I did.
Okay, or, just before you initiated the traffic stop?
I initiated the stop and then I immediately activated my camera.
Okay, and how is it that body worn camera is activated on your uniform, sir?
I have a battery pack that's on my belt in the front, and I press the activation button, which is in the front.
Okay, and so is it just a tap of that activation button?
It's a double tap on the front. Yes.
Okay, and how is it that you would stop recording?
I would hold down that same power button.
Okay.
Or it can be turned off. There's a toggle switch on the top that slides on and off.
Okay, and so your body worn camera was running as of, the traffic stop being initiated.
Yes,
And so you described an unrelated individual coming over to, your stop.
yes.
Okay, can you describe this individual?
He was a white male adult. He was wearing bright colored hoodie and blue jeans.
Party foul. Sorry. I was thinking about a contract issue I have for a sale of land. My apologies. Boomer alert. And I heard white male adult and I'm like, wait a minute. I thought they were racisms. I thought it was more racisms. All right. So we're going to go back to present, share screen. This one here. And I have stupid red vine stuff stuck to my teeth. All right.
He was wearing bright colored hoodie and blue jeans.
That individual, do you see him here in court today?
Yes, I do.
Can you please point to him and describe something he's wearing?
He's wearing a suit and a blue tie.
Your Honor, please let the record reflect identification of the defendant.
So ordered.
And so what do you do upon seeing this individual approach the driver of the vehicle you stopped?
Initially, when I saw him, he was just reporting. I ignored him, continued my records check. Then when he came over to the driver and started speaking to them, I got out of the car, approached the driver and told DeCastro to back up.
When you first noticed, so you identified the unknown or unrelated male subsequently, correct?
Yes,
And what was his name?
Jose DeCastro.
Okay. And that's the individual you identified here in court.
Yes,
Okay. And so when you first laid eyes on the defendant, approximately how far away was he from the driver of the vehicle in the Hyundai?
approximately somewhere within 5 to 10 feet.
Okay. And you indicated that he was recording?
Yes,
Okay. What did you see that led you to believe he was recording?
he had his cell phone camera pointed directly at me.
Okay. And so is that when, upon seeing him being that close to the driver?
So fittingly, as a Rooster crows, Rooster Cogburn asks, why couldn't he have a jury? Is it because it was such a low-level misdemeanor? Well, under the Sixth Amendment, your right to a jury trial does not extend to misdemeanors. Misdemeanors being where the sentence is 1 year in prison or less. Now, some states like Texas have extended the right to jury trial to any. I think you can get a jury trial on like a traffic ticket. I'm not entirely sure, but it goes all the way down. I'm sure it goes all the way down to misdemeanors. So why couldn't he have a jury? I would assume it's a function of state law and the Fourth Amendment. He couldn't have it under the Fourth Amendment. He wasn't entitled to it. So he couldn't. I'm sorry, I keep saying the Fourth Amendment. Under the Sixth Amendment, it's a fucking barnyard right now. God damn. Under the Sixth Amendment, he just looked me square in the eye. Oh, God. Under the Sixth Amendment, he doesn't qualify for the protection of the Sixth Amendment because the potential sentence was 6 months in jail for each crime. And apparently there is no state law that requires him or maybe even allows him to have a jury. That's why he doesn't have one. So the jury trials are expensive, despite, a lot of like California, I think you get like $5 a day or something crazy like that. Despite the relatively low cost, it's still relatively expensive for the state because a jury trial adds, I mean, you generally speaking have 1 or 2 days of voir dire, generally speaking, 1 or 2 days of voir dire where you can't use that courtroom for anything else. You have 1 or 2 days of jury deliberation at the end, maybe, where you can't use that courtroom for anything else. And so it takes up state resources to have jury trials. It's a lot more expeditious for the state to be able just to run everything through a bench trial. So bench trials are preferred. So that's why if he wanted one, he couldn't have one because it doesn't qualify for the protection of the Sixth Amendment, and there's no provision in Nevada for it.
Driver, is that when you told him, you walked up to the driver of the stops vehicle and asked Mr. DeCastro to back up?
Yes, once he started talking to the driver.
And why is it that you did that, officer?
Well, I can't have unrelated people next to my traffic stops. I don't know if he's a dangerous person, armed. He could be a boyfriend of the stopped person. It's for my safety and the safety of the person I stopped.
Okay, because you're also in charge of the safety of the.
I hate that line of reasoning. It's something potentially could happen. Something in theory could happen. I don't know if. Well, you never know if. Like, you go to the mall, you never know if the guy next to you looking at, I don't know, the latest book that's on sale, the latest bestseller. You don't know if he's a psychopath. You don't know if he's armed and dangerous. You don't know if he's a felon. I mean, you don't know. You go through life not knowing stuff. And so this justification, this officer safety justification that they always want to use, well, I don't know if he can be dangerous, blah. Well, like, duh, you don't know if anybody is dangerous. It's a stupid non-justification justification. It's criminally retarded. And the fact that society lets people get away with it, that cops get away with it, is ridiculous. Oh, my officer safety, I don't know. Well, fucking grow up, dude. You're the one carrying a gun. You're the one wearing body armor. You're the one with tasers and mace. I mean, Christ on a fucking cracker. How much more safety do you need, snowflake?
Individual that this unrelated individual was making contact with. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
And so you saw it as an officer safety issue as well as a safety issue for the driver.
Yes.
Okay. And so when you approached, well, you said he was recording, the defendant was recording. At any time, did you tell him to stop recording?
No, in fact, I told him he can continue recording.
Okay. He can continue to record given what?
As long as he backed up and gave me an appropriate distance to work.
Okay. And so when you asked the defendant to back up, did he follow your order?
No, he did not.
Okay. And so what did you do next?
I gave him.
Yes, this is it exactly. How much officer safety did the Uvalde cops need before they went in that school? Like, fucking Christ. Like, we hire these people who are just so fucking scared, and then we pump them full of officers are being targeted. You need to be scared. Be scared. No, you need to be the dude who we pay you. Society pays you not to be scared. Society pays you to put your man pants on and run in there and take care of the fucking problem. God, I hate this officer safety bullshit. And you would think, I'm using a trackpad, and you would think I'd be smart
3
enough to use
additional
it.
warnings to back up.
Okay. And did he obey those orders?
No, he did not.
And what, if anything, did you do with the driver of the stopped vehicle on day?
At that point, I chose to release the driver of the Hyundai and then focus my attention on Jose DeCastro.
Okay. And for the record, officer, at that point in time,
And he's got some chest salad on. Now, you want to talk about militarization of the police? They have service awards just like in the police, or just like in the military. Look at that. Fucking crazy. The militarization of the police. We are a long way from Andy motherfucking Griffith.
were you the only uniformed officer, the only officer present at the scene?
Yes, ma'am.
And so at this point, you were dealing with the spot driver as well as an unrelated individual and having to make contact or maintain visual of both.
Yes,
And at that point, the defendant was not being cooperative.
correct, yes.
So you release the driver of the Hyundai. What do you tell that person to let her go?
I just said that she was free to go, simply.
And subsequently, did you turn your attention on the defendant?
Yes.
And can you tell Judge Zimmerman the nature of your interaction with the defendant after that?
I ordered DeCastro to the front of my patrol vehicle, but pointing at it and told him it was detained
And what was the purpose of detaining him?
for obstructing my initial traffic stop at the Hyundai.
And did he obey your lawful order?
No, he did not.
And what happened next?
He continued
Objection. The characterization of the order was lawful. Calls for a legal conclusion. No, we're just gonna sit here. We're just gonna sit here. Yeah, we're just gonna sit here. I mean, it would be overruled probably because it most likely was a lawful order. Shut up, Patrick. My wife named the last remaining guinea fowl Patrick because usually when you name the birds, they end up getting eaten by like a hawk or something. But Patrick's been named Patrick now for at least a month, and no one's bothered to eat him. Probably because he's too fucking annoying to eat. Patrick. Sorry about that.
continued filming me and continued pointing toward my patrol vehicle, continued telling me he was detained. All the while, he just continued shifting his body around, recording me on the phone, and refusing to go to the car.
Okay, so what did you do in response?
I used my hand to escort him to the patrol vehicle, so I placed my hand on his shoulder, and at that point, he swatted my hand away.
And what happened next?
That's when I grabbed him by the shirt, and I spun him around, and then we ended up at the front of my patrol vehicle. We were both still standing.
At some point, did you request additional units to respond to the scene?
I did, that was before I grabbed him,
Okay.
when I initially detained him.
Okay, and, I'm sorry, once you had him at your patrol vehicle, or the front, the hood of your patrol vehicle, what happened next?
Officer Dingley, another officer in the area, had arrived, and he came over to help me handcuff.
And were you successful, or did the defendant cooperate in being handcuffed?
He did not cooperate. I told him 7 times to face my patrol vehicle, he did not listen. I told him 6 times to turn around, he did not listen. It wasn't until I told him that he was going to go to jail, that was the consequence of not listening, that he allowed us to handcuff.
Okay, and, after he was handcuffed, but when he was handcuffed, was it just you and Officer Dingle present?
Yes.
Once he was handcuffed, what if anything, happened next?
He continued to argue with my partners, Officer Dingley and some other officers that were starting to show up. And then I focused my roles in completing the report and calling the sergeant, because he requested a supervisor.
And at some point, was he arrested for account of obstructing a public officer,
Yes,
and also for resisting a public officer or resisting arrest?
yes.
And was he, at any point in time during your interaction with him, or your continued visual interaction with other officers, did he cooperate with any of the officers present at the scene?
No, he kept shifting around, and normally we have people stand still in front of our car, and I could hear him arguing with the other officers.
You indicated you had your body worn camera turned on at this time.
Yes,
Did you have an opportunity to look at your body worn camera prior to court today?
yes, I did.
I would to show you a snippet, and Your Honor, we're going to be screen sharing through Zoom. It takes a minute. Okay. Officer, are you able to see, there's not a screen over there, so I might have to bring mine over to you, with the court's permission. Okay. Okay. Officer, I'm showing you, my computer screen. Is it fair to say that what's being shared on the screen, as well as what's showing up on my computer screen, are 2 files, one labeled 416b.mp4, the other one labeled 468, number sign 1.mp4.
Yes,
I am just gonna, and for the record, Your Honor, all body worn camera footage have been disclosed to the defense well in advance of today's trial. I'm gonna just show you a brief snippet of the one labeled 468 underscore number sign 1.mp4. Do you recognize what's depicted here?
yes, this is the initial Hyundai that I had stopped. I was driving stop.
Okay, and so do you recognize this particular file as the body worn camera of your interaction, first with the Hyundai and then for the defendant on March 15th of 2023?
Yes,
Okay, and does this show the time that you activated your camera?
yes,
Okay, similar to what you testified to earlier.
yes,
And you've had an opportunity to see this entire 12.5-minute long video, is that right?
yes,
Does it fairly and accurately depict the traffic stop and also your interaction with the defendant on the date and time that we've been discussing,
yes,
at the location that we've been discussing?
yes.
Your Honor, I move to
It's interesting that I don't see that Chille and me have a view of this. I don't know if they're what they're going to do to allow the defense counsel to view the footage, but they don't have it up or anything. So
admit and subsequently publish the file labeled 468 underscore number sign 1.mp4.
So that's
No, there.
admitted and published.
Thank you. And let me just join that.
What's with Chille's haircut? Man, that has got to be the worst haircut I've seen on Chille in a long time. I wonder if he cut his own hair, because that back is raggedy.
Yes, the next one. Your Honor, permission to just put it up there. Yep. Wait for the microphone.
We've all seen the video, so I'm going to move through this a little faster.
Deposit at timestamp 9 minutes and 16 seconds. At this point, officer, do you see the unrelated mail that you've been talking about enter a camera view?
Yes, I do.
And could you just point to where he is in the video on my screen?
Yes, he's right here.
And let the record reflect he identified a male wearing like a light colored blue jacket towards the middle of the screen. And is this the individual that you have been talking about, the defendant here today?
Yes.
Wow, we got the same kind of photo deal for the attorney that they gave to Chille, a much younger shot. Woo.
This is Officer Dean Knight.
And that concludes the 12-minute and 31-second video. The video marks 468 underscore number sign 1.mp4. Officer, at some point after this interaction that we just saw, did you come to realize that your body worn camera had accidentally or inadvertently turned off?
Yes.
Okay. And at what point in time did it turn off?
It would have turned off at the completion of the video that we just saw. Prior
Prior to what?
to the handcuffing.
Okay. Did you at some, we know this officer Ziegler will show up to the scene, though?
Yes.
Okay. And do you know whether he had his body worn camera turned on?
Yes, it was activated.
Okay. And so what would have been missed by the inadvertent turning off of your body worn camera would have been captured on Officer Ziegler's body worn camera?
Yes.
Okay. And did I allow you to look at that video footage from Officer Dingle this morning prior to testifying here today?
Yes, you did.
And did you have an
We should fat shame there, J5. No fat shaming.
opportunity to look at it to determine whether it was in fact the video related to this event?
Yes, I looked at it and it was the video.
Okay. And so I'm going to turn your attention now to the video labeled 416B- or .mp.
My God, look at those fake eyelashes. Jesus H. Christ. There's like 10 pounds of fake eyelashes on that woman.
4. And I'm just gonna,
It says 4168.
oh, sorry. Is that B? 416B? Not MP4?
Okay.
Or 8. And I'll just play the first 13 seconds. Actually, fast forward. Now, for the record, the video's upside down. I recorded upside down.
I know. Tell me about it.
Why would it record upside down?
Ma'am, there's a setting in the application where you can rotate it. This officer may not have checked that beforehand.
Stopping or starting at 4:54, timestamp on the video that we've been talking about. Do you recognize what's depicted, at least in the still portion?
Yes, this is me and DeCastro in front of my control vehicle.
Okay, and so to your knowledge, after having watched this, does this fairly accurately depict your interaction with the defendant on March 15th of 2023 as caught on camera by Officer Dingley's body camera?
Yes.
Move to admit 416, either 8, and then people.
You know if it's an 8 or a B for sure.
Looks like a B too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I lose. All right.
Okay.
416B.MP4 will be admitted and published.
Thank you. And I'm just going to start from 4:54. And may I approach you? Honor?
Can we move the water bottle so you can see it too?
Of course.
Do you need on? You can do it. Anybody rotate it so it's right here?
No problem.
It's gonna be pretty.
There you go.
I find it hilarious that they're holding the laptop upside down. That just kills me. Oh, goodness. Man, that video sure doesn't help Chille. Boy, like he was argumentative in court in front of the judge. He called the marshal a pig for trying to enforce the court's order. And now here he is arguing with cops on the side of the road over an incident that he started. Crazy. That's interesting. Do you know, Master Sergeant, do you know why? What's the ground for excluding body cam footage? Because it's a, like, it wouldn't be hearsay as long as the cop authenticates it. Is it a chain of custody issue? Do they go after it for a chain of custody or something like that? Oh, sir. I mean, true, but sir, we can't talk about that here. Why do you say that the attorney sucked? Like I haven't really seen anything in there that he could have done at this point. I don't see anything he could have done at the trial level at this point. So they say it's making them look bad, more prejudicial than probative. I don't know. I would think the body cam footage would be highly probative. Maybe they could exclude parts of it that don't have to do with the crime as being more prejudicial than probative. But if there's actual body cam footage where the suspect freely admits to it, it admits to committing the crime or commits the crime on the body cam footage, then, but like if it's body cam footage of like after, like if it's body cam footage of just the suspect being a general dick to the cops, but doesn't have to do anything to do with the actual offense, then I could see it being more prejudicial than probative. I'm gonna take a quick break. I've got to empty something, so I guess hang out with your wang out until I get back. All right. We're back. I got myself a cup of coffee.
It's 11:35. So officer, the body worn camera portions that we played, or that I played, fairly and accurately depict your interaction with the defendant on March 15th of 2023.
Yes, it did.
Concerning, I just want to talk a little bit about what was depicted in the video. In the video from your body worn camera, it shows, the state of your stop with the Hyundai driver. You recall that?
Yes,
Okay. And at some point prior to you making contact with the defendant, you noticed him kind of reporting further away from the vehicle, correct?
yes, yes.
And at that point in time, you didn't have a problem with that. You didn't really approach the defendant yet, correct?
Correct.
It was when he started making contact with the driver, your stopped driver, that you approached him and asked him to back up.
Yes,
And at some point in time in the video, it was reported, you told him that he is allowed to record, but he just needed to back up.
yes.
Okay. And what was the reason for you trying to maintain, one, the lack of no contact with the stopped person, and two, trying to gain distance between the defendant, yourself, and the stopped driver?
My first intention is I wasn't trying to delay my traffic stop any longer than it had to be. I was trying to make it as short as possible for the driver. And then second was for officer safety. What we're talking academy is that for a normal human's reaction time with open grounds, anything within 21 feet, that suspect would be able to charge an officer without them.
The suspect. Oh, Chille was a suspect at that point. Or just can no citizen be within 21 feet of an officer? What fucking bullshit.
All
All right. And at that point in time,
Imagine if your average citizen was like, no one can be within 21 feet of me because they might have a knife. I mean, come on. You pussy.
you were the only officer present, correct?
Yes,
Okay. And when when the defendant failed to obey your command to back up, that's when you decided to engage him.
yes.
Okay. Um,
So no, Joey Simpson. 8 to 10 feet. No, federal courts have not ruled that. A federal court is not going to make a bright line rule about how close you could be to a active crime scene. They are going to leave that. They always leave that to the officer discretion, because in some situations it may be that 8 to 10 feet is a reasonable distance. In other situations, it might not be a reasonable distance. So no, it's always the court is almost always going to leave it to officer discretion. Almost always. I hate using a trackpad. I should have brought my mouse out.
I have no more questions for this witness. Thank you.
Good morning, officer. How are you doing?
Morning, sir. I'm well. How are you?
Very well. How many feet did you order the defendant back up specifically?
I never had an opportunity to give them exact distance.
Okay, so MSG says 21 feet is taught in the academy as a reaction time needed to be able to engage a threat. Fine, that's great. A threat, not a possible threat, not a potential threat, not a guy with a camera, a threat. Was Chille a threat? That's what I would ask. Was Chille a threat? I don't think Chille was a threat. Chille was an asshole. Chille was a dick. Chille was interfering with the stop. But was Chille a threat? I don't think he was. So I think that's an excellent rule, 21 feet, to be able to engage a threat. Excellent. No problems with that, as long as it's to engage a threat. Pussy ass cops. Pussies.
How far back did you intend to have him back up? You didn't express that.
In the background of the video, you can see that there was a parked semi-truck and light pole. I would have directed him somewhere in that area, which would have been outside the 21 feet.
Outside the 21 feet because he's a fucking threat. God.
Your testimony is you never told him an exact distance back up, correct?
Yes, you never allowed him to.
What do you mean never allowed you to?
I asked him to back up, and he continued arguing with me, so I can never specify.
He never allowed me to. He never, Your Honor, he gripped my lips so tightly that I could not give him proper instruction. It's a good point by me. It's a good point. There was never a specific distance he was told to back up. Now, is it going to get him anywhere? No, because back up. Well, you didn't tell me a specific distance. Yeah, but did you back up? That's a great question.
Exact distance.
But you got time to give him 5 commands to back up, is that correct?
Yes.
Your testimony is he never backed up when you were giving him commands, is that correct?
Hashtag not
Backed
all.
up, it may have been inches, but he didn't substantially back up.
And you just reviewed the body worn camera from your.
Another reason why it doesn't make a lot of sense. I mean, if the officer says back up 21 feet, who the fuck is going to get out there with the tape measure and figure out if you're 21 feet? How could the officer ascertain 21 feet? He's going to eyeball it. And how good is his eyeballing? I don't know.
Your chest, is that correct?
Yes,
Okay. You didn't notice him backing up every time you directed him to back up?
he did not back up.
So you backed up 0 feet in your opinion? Just on the
Not
video?
0 feet.
What was that?
He didn't back up 0 feet. He was moving his feet. As to exactly how far he went back, I don't know, but it wasn't substantial.
Well, define substantial.
What would have been substantial in your opinion? Or what do you mean by that?
I would have guided him if he wasn't arguing.
Well, so here's the thing. He did catch Bork in a. I mean, the video is going to speak for itself. The video is going to speak for itself. But me is doing an excellent job here, because he caught the officer already. He hasn't like really banged on it, but he caught the officer in a bit of a in a bit of a statement that contradicts itself. First, Bork testified that Chille didn't back up at all, and now he's saying that he didn't back up substantially. So it's, I mean, me's doing a good job. Somebody said that me didn't do a good job. Me did a good job. Me's doing a good job so far, anyway. At least on the cross exam.
Arguing with me back toward the light pole in the park semi truck.
And
Would have been outside of the 21 feet. That was the goal.
So in your opinion, you have the ability, or you would in any traffic stop, ask somebody to look back 21 feet, is that correct?
Yes, for our training.
And what was that training?
While we're conducting lawful activity, we're allowed a reasonable distance to conduct our activity.
But where do you get that 21 feet number from specifically?
That's taught to us in the academy. It's based on reaction time, normal human reaction time to a threat.
So your position is anytime you're engaged in any law enforcement activity, you would create a 21 feet perimeter?
Not necessarily. It depends on other environmental factors such as obstacles, barriers.
So your testimony is that every time you conduct a traffic stop, as long as there's no barriers, you would order a pedestrian to back up 21 feet, is that correct?
I would, yes.
What training do you have in regards to the First Amendment?
It's standard academy training.
Can you explain what that entails?
Usually includes a classroom setting, PowerPoint taught by police officer, academy officer.
Do you remember receiving that training specifically?
Yes.
How long ago was that?
When I was first employed about 8 years ago.
Do you have any follow-up training?
Specifically on First Amendment, we've had some follow-up training regarding First Amendment auditors.
Okay, can you explain what that follow-up training was?
The follow-up training was just a refresher on the First Amendment and how the department wants to handle or react to First Amendment auditors.
In that training, did they explain any case law governing how many feet somebody has to move back or anything like that?
Objection, Your Honor, at this point, relevance, I think it's beyond the scope of, the charges that you are to determine guilt, on at this time.
Can you tell me what's the relevance?
Yes, Your Honor. He detained the defendant after issuing commands back up a particular distance. He testified he's received training. I should be entitled to cross-examine him about what that training is and how he's coming up with the specific numbers he's using to issue.
Take her.
So her objection was it was beyond the scope, meaning it was beyond the scope of the direct. And the judge is now asking about the relevance, not the scope. And he's answering about the scope, not the relevance. I got to admit, I'm a little fucking confused right now, but it's her courtroom.
Objection was with respect to the case law that you're inquiring about.
Your Honor, our position is if he's issuing commands that are contrary to that case law, and he's been
And this is why he got 6 months, which you got wrong. Well, so again, what he should have got was a $500 fucking fine. And for those of you who are saying, well, at trial, I've seen a lot of comments that at trial, the state was offering $500 fine and 90 days for each suspended or something like that. That's at trial. And what you get at trial is going to be less, generally speaking, than what you could have got before trial, because the state has already now had to invest the time and effort to get ready for trial. Now they're at trial. So the state has less to lose at this point, right? The state isn't going to really gain anything by getting you to do the plea other than the certainty of the outcome. So prior to going to trial, I guarantee you that they would have accepted a better offer than, or a better plea for Chille than $500 and 90 days each suspended. I guarantee you that. So I can't control that Chille's too fucking dumb to accept it. I never said that at trial he wouldn't get anything. My best guess was at trial he would get a fine, and he could have just got a fine, but I mean, that's my best guess. I also didn't expect him to go in there and fucking insult the judge and argue with the judge and insult the marshal and get into a pissing contest with the judge. I mean, I can't foresee this stuff. Like, just like with the discovery motion, I couldn't foresee that this would be the one fucking motion that Chille wouldn't actually object to, or that the judge would do something so fucking weird. I can't foresee this. I could only give you my best guess based on the things that I've seen so far. So forgive me if I'm not 100% perfect. You know, Chille's a bit of an oddball, but if it wasn't Chille, if it was anybody fucking else in there, it would be a fine. I mean, anybody else in there, it would be a fucking fine. Maybe pretrial deferment. I mean, it would be something minor. And Chille managed to fuck this into a whole big thing. Only Chille could have gotten 6 months out of this. This is a skill. This is a talent. This is a don't give a fuck. I'm a celebrity. You can't do this to me because I'm Chille motherfucking DeCastro, the 20-year constitutional law scholar, and I sue cops. And this is this takes talent, bro. It takes talent. This isn't something that you can control for.
Training on that case law, then there can't be an obstruction of justice.
So I'm going to sustain the objection and ask you to move on.
There can't
Wait,
be
what was
obstruction of justice. If they're contrary to that case law, and he's been trained on that case law, then there can't be an obstruction of justice.
Well, that's so me right now is trying to make a legal argument. The legal argument you don't make it, you don't make with the witness. You make that later at like either in a motion to dismiss. You make it in a motion to dismiss, or you'd make it in a motion to dismiss. That's when you'd make it.
So I'm going to sustain the objection and ask you to move on.
Have you had any prior issues enforcing the First Amendment?
No.
Prior to this event taking place that you heard of, was it?
Have you had any prior issues enforcing the First Amendment? Like, what the? Did I mishear that?
Have you had any prior issues enforcing the First Amendment?
Jesus fucking Christ. Oh my God. Oh my God. That was a bad one.
No.
Prior to this event taking place that you heard of, Jose DeCastro?
No.
Do you recall when you first heard about First Amendment auditors specifically?
It would have been in the academy.
Oh, Jesus.
So when you were first trained, you had heard about the auditors back then?
Yes, when we were learning about the First Amendment, they would typically bring up issues that might be a frequently seen thing. First Amendment auditors are typically the ones that we encounter when there's First Amendment claims against us.
Do you have any belief that First Amendment auditors are likely to be violent?
Objection, relevant.
What's the relevance?
Alright.
I'm only concerned with Mr. DeCastro.
Your Honor, one of the legal issues at question here is whether or not these commands are reasonable. I think that has to be based on his past experiences
Reasonable or lawful?
in training.
Sustain.
Yeah, she sustained the objection. So I think the commands have to be lawful, not reasonable.
During this traffic stop in particular, what specific factors led you to believe there might be a danger to officer safety?
Now, for everybody who's shitting on me, just remember, he doesn't have a fucking case or he doesn't have a defense. Me doesn't have a defense. Like, I don't know what people expect out of lawyers, but me doesn't have a defense. There is no defense for this. The video fucked Chille. There's no defense. Like, where do you go as a lawyer? Well, you remember, if the facts are in your favor, you argue the facts. If the law is in your favor, you argue the law. If neither the facts or the law are in your favor, you bang the table and you shout like hell. So me's banging the table and shouting like hell. This is all I got. He's putting a show on for the client because the client was too stupid to accept any of the plea deals that I am sure the state offered prior to going to trial. So the lawyer has exhausted all of his potentially favorable outcomes for Chille, and he's now left with bullshit. So he doesn't get to be like, well, fuck it, we just lose and walk away. He's still got to try, and maybe one day, banging the table and shouting like hell will persuade someone. If you can't beat him with brilliance, you baffle him with bullshit. Well, he might be able to baffle the judge into bullshit. Sure. Don't shit on me. All right. Don't shit on me. MEE or MEA or whatever the hell it is. This guy. Don't shit on this guy right here. I think it's Michael. Yeah, Michael Me. Don't shit on Michael Me. He's doing his best job, his best effort right there. So
Based on his proximity to my driver, based on his demeanor being argumentative, based on his physical demeanor, his veins were popping out of his neck as he was yelling at me.
You can see his veins popping
his veins were popping out. You can see his veins popping out.
out of his neck from your vehicle is.
When I was at the driver's side window, I could see that, but not in my car.
So when you see him walking out from your car, what is your specific concern regarding officer safety at that point in time?
It's my safety and the safety of the driver. I don't know who this person is. I've never met him before. He could be peaceful, he could be violent, I just don't know. There's so many unknown factors. And I also have a responsibility to protect that driver. If I were in that driver's position, I wouldn't want to be approached by some random person recording me, interviewing me. Did
you ever ask the driver their opinion about what they wanted in there or not?
No, my first
That's
step was,
irrelevant.
Sustained.
The answer was already given. So he already testified no. So sorry, DA, your objection was too late.
Was your primary concern speaking to the driver or him not backing up?
my primary concern was safety. I don't know if he was harmed or what his intention was.
Do you presume someone is armed and dangerous just because they're in public?
I can't rule out that he's unarmed.
I can't rule out that he's unarmed. So I have to treat everyone as if they're armed and dangerous in public, is what this cop is testifying to.
But you had no reason to believe he was armed on this occasion.
No, nobody had told me he was armed, and I didn't see any weapons visible, but he was wearing clothing that could have easily concealed weapons.
Excuse me, officer. He also showed you his waistband, which, I mean, technically he could have had a gun down like in his crotch or something like that. He could have, sure, or it is in an ankle holster or something like that. But come on, dude, come on.
So when you first came up on the scene, you were in your vehicle typing on your computer, is that correct?
Yes.
And what were you doing in relation to that traffic stop at that point?
Conducting a background check to see if her license was valid.
I hope he doesn't piss in the shitter again. Oh my God. I hope he doesn't piss in the shitter.
To see if she had any criminal history to help me make a decision whether to warn her or issue citation.
You stated your belief that the driver was entitled to privacy.
I did say that.
And what do you mean by that?
Instead of continuing to give him commands to back up, I said something different to try and help him understand. She's really not entitled to privacy, but she's entitled to safety.
So your explanation is that you said that because you were just
So because there are, quote, so many ambush videos, or there's many ambush videos out there, you don't blame them. Well, if you look at it per capita, per stop, it is an incredibly low number of ambush videos. There's hundreds of thousands of officers in the United States. I think there's like 200,000 or so roughly full-time police officers and sheriff deputies and stuff in the United States. And on any given day, there are probably at least 100,000, if not more, officer suspect interactions, traffic stops, things like that. And so if you actually look at it per capita, it's not a lot. I mean, imagine, if you will, if a truck driver made some sort of a fucking rule that no one could be within like 21 car lengths of his truck because of so many truck crash videos that are on the internet. It's really fucking stupid. It's dumb reasoning, and it's just like, if you're going to be a cop, you have to accept some risk. There is risk associated with the job. Like if you're a fireman, you have to accept some risk. Firemen have to run into the fucking burning building to save people. Cops have to put themselves between bad guys and innocent people. That's a cop's fucking job. It's a cop's job to deal with potentially dangerous people. Now, I'm not suggesting the cop needs to take unnecessary risks, but you can't just assume cops can't treat everybody like they're a criminal before they're a criminal. That's not a productive way, and that doesn't justify cop behavior. By your own words, everyone is allowed to be a dick, even the police. Let him use his excuses. Well, I mean, no, because he's using them. He's using them to enforce things against people. Is this America? Is this a free fucking country? Well, I mean, I guess it really isn't anymore, is it? But it's pretty stupid. It's pretty stupid how we allow the cops, specifically the cops, to use potential fear to control the population. The free citizens, the non-suspects, if you're not detained, then there should be some metric by which the courts can look at these things the cops are doing to say, is this not just lawful, but is it reasonable? And the courts don't want to second guess the cops because the court wasn't there, and the cops on the scene and in the situation. But where it's something that's like blatant, like, okay, so it's a dude who has a camera in both hands, who's walking up to the crime scene. He's got a camera in both hands. Like, you can use a little bit of intuition as a human being to realize this guy probably isn't gonna drop a camera to pull a gun out. Probably, right? It's like the TSA screenings where they TSA screen like toddlers and like 90-year-old grannies. Like, at some point in time, can't we use a little bit of logic and sensibility, and maybe instead of just letting the police do things randomly, like make the police go through some steps to like verify that the action is warranted? Yeah, I mean, yeah. But no, they get to treat everybody like a criminal until you prove to the officer's satisfaction otherwise. Essentially, is really what it is.
Convince him to back up, not because he believed.
Yes, if I continue to give the command to back up and he's not listening, I can't expect something different to happen if I just keep saying back up.
In your police report, do you recall referencing the fact that he had due notice in the meeting of what you were planning to do?
Yes, when I gave him 4 commands to back up those.
He only had a camera in both hands briefly. Well, what, until the officer interaction started and the officer started treating him like a threat? He only had a camera in both hands until the officer started treating him like a threat. Oh, that makes sense, Lisa. Beautiful argument. Thank you. Context. Fuck that.
Due notice.
But you'll agree with me, he did not have notice as to the distance you were back up, is that correct?
That's correct.
Approximately how long?
SIF. So yeah, and criminals have never worn shoes. And criminals have never worn pants. Right? Right? Criminals have never done these things, right? Oh, wait, they have. So let's outlaw shoes. Let's outlaw pants. Let's lock this down into an entire fucking police state. Everybody has to stay in a box 24/7 because criminals have walked free, sir. And you can't trust anybody. You can't fucking trust anybody. I didn't say you have to just let all the children through. I said it doesn't make sense to randomly search children at TSA. It doesn't make sense to randomly search elderly people at TSA. Grannies and walkers is specifically, I believe, what I used. So why don't they have to do a little bit of like, you know what? She's acting funny. There's something odd. There's something weird. I don't know. Do a background check on them. They had to have bought a fucking ticket, right? You get to see their ID. Do a little background check. Is there something wrong? Is there a red flag in here? Fucking hell. Just these pussies carrying water for police state tactics. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I don't want to live in that kind of state. And if you want to, that's great. That's why it's a democracy. And as I've already said, democracies are where stupid people get to vote. So enjoy it.
Were you issuing these commands then before you decided to take it effect?
Approximately 15, 20 seconds.
And your testimony is you didn't have any time during the entire back and forth to tell them specific distance to back up to?
Not time, but no opportunity.
How so?
Well, every time I tried to speak with him, he would argue he wasn't listening at all.
Did you ever learn about straw man arguments in college? Reductio ad absurdum is a fallacy, but it can also be true. Logical fallacies can also be true. And he made a straw man about they've never used children. Well, he didn't give you any. Somewhere in time, some criminal has used a child or a terrorist has used a child. Somewhere in time, a criminal or a terrorist has used an elderly person. But we don't get any statistics or anything like that. I hate to break this to you, Tonto, but Springer and I agree on a lot of things. I don't appreciate an overly cumbersome government telling me what I can or can't do. I'm not comparing what happened to Chile as a police state. I'm saying that what the officer's outlook is, he treats citizens as criminals before he has any reason to treat them as criminals. I don't care. If they have a CCW, then I don't care. I really don't care. I don't care if 60-year-olds with CCWs go carry a gun through the checkpoint. I literally don't care. And you know what? Wouldn't that be caught in the metal scanner, the metal detector? They don't have to search them to find them. I literally don't care.
Well, if he's not understanding, back up, how would he explain something that was more complex?
Well, what was preventing you from saying back up to a particular location?
First, I would want him to back up, and then if he didn't back up far enough, I would give him an exact location.
But you never did, right?
No, I never did.
Did the defendant's verbal comments towards you influence what you decided to do that day?
No.
No,
On the video, did you see that the point in time you decided to detain him was specifically after he made an insulting comment towards you?
That wasn't why I chose to detain him. I realized that he wasn't going to back up at that time.
His comments didn't make you angry at him?
No.
In your review of the video just now, he had both hands in front of him the entire time, is that correct?
No, at one point he reaches towards back.
And those 3D printed non-metallic bullets. Last I checked, guns don't work very well without bullets. And is it a non-metallic firing pin, non-metallic spring? I don't know, man. I don't know. That's a lot of non-metallic you got going on in there. That's a lot of non-metallic. I don't know. Plastic firing pins, maybe. Plastic bullets, I guess. casings for those bullets? Sure. Plastic primers? Yeah, buddy. Yeah. Fucking, we're gonna make dumb arguments now. Yay! Dumb arguments. Trying to find the but metal detectors won't work because they have 3D printed guns and 3D printed bullets with 3D printed primers and 3D printed casings.
Did you quickly see that it was a second phone he was going for?
Yes,
Okay. So once you see him produce a second phone in his hands, he's obviously not reaching for a weapon, is that correct?
at that time, no, he wasn't.
What time of day did this occur at?
If I remember correctly, I think it was around 4:30 in the afternoon.
And this was in a broad public place.
Yes,
Does the fact that this occurred,
Oh, but what if you could, Bill? What if you could? Then if we could only have plastic barrels, then it's a free for all. We just get to search everybody. Just fuck your freedoms. Just we get to search you. Just because you never know. You never know. There could be a plastic printed fucking barrel. You never fucking know. You never know.
in broad daylight in public influence your decision making as far as issuing commands to the defendant?
it could. In this particular case, it didn't.
And why is that?
There was nobody around us other than me and the driver and DeCastro.
You testified he swatted your hand away. Is that your testimony today?
Yes, that's the best way I can describe it.
And you saw the arm do this, or you just felt it?
I saw it and felt it.
Do you recall in your police report stating that you did not believe his intent was to harm you?
Yes, I wrote that.
And what is your basis for reaching that conclusion?
Well, he could have been charged with battery on a police officer, which would have been more severe. But I didn't think his intent was to hurt me, so I didn't charge him with that.
He could have. Once he swatted the officer's hand away, that was battery on a police officer. Yeah, you can't do that.
You testified today that one of the things you were concerned about was him not going over to your vehicle. Is that true?
Yes,
Will you agree with me that he actually did walk over to your vehicle at some point during the interaction?
yes, but it wasn't reasonable the amount of time it took him.
What would be a reasonable amount of time?
Asking him to step in front of my car and then doing so immediately.
You must immediately respond to the officer's commands.
And how fast is it immediately?
This isn't based off of time, my response. It's just based off of interaction. I had to tell him he was detained multiple times. I made it clear what he was detained for. I said he was detained for obstructing. I gave him several commands to step in front of my car. So I would think a reasonable person would walk over to my car and then we'd have a conversation there.
So you're being charged with being a non-reasonable person. Everyone must be reasonable.
And how specifically did his presence obstruct your ability to complete the traffic stop?
Again, I don't know what his intention is. I don't know if he's armed. All I saw was him recording, which again, I had no issue with. I told him I had no issue with. At some point in time, if I were to issue a citation to the driver, my focus would be on the driver and what's inside her car. At that point, I hadn't pulled her out. I hadn't pat her down. I don't know if she has any weapons in the car or what her intent was, if there was anything underlying. So my intention on having to cast her back up was so that I didn't have split attention. He was too close for me to have split attention.
Okay. All right. So America should have the TSA search kids, specifically toddlers was my example, specifically toddlers, search toddlers before they get on airplanes because gangs in Denmark use kids to transport drugs and weapons because they can't get arrested for it. I mean, it's a valid argument, folks. Oh my God, my viewers, I love it. Mwah. Chef's kiss.
So one of the things you stated that you were concerned about, I guess, from a safety point of view, was that he didn't identify himself. Is that true?
No, I didn't care about his identity until I had him detained.
At any point during the, I guess, detention of the defendant, did you pat him down to determine he didn't have any weapons?
I did.
Okay, and when was that during the duration of the interaction?
That was immediately after handcuffing.
Okay, did you discover any weapons on him?
No, I did not.
From your police car, while he's walking up, you can essentially have a complete view of his movements and what he's doing at that point in time.
Yes.
And you never saw him during that time period before you got out of your car and reached for your weapons or anything like that?
No.
Stop talking like a sovereign citizen. I'm not a sovereign citizen, you fucking tool bag. I'm a lawyer who happens to value rights, personal rights, individual freedoms, which is why I am in here literally making these videos, is because I am a free speech proponent. I love the First Amendment. I love individual rights to say what you want to say. And that doesn't make me a sovereign citizen. And you trying to equate me to a sovereign citizen makes you a tool bag. So why don't you eat a big bag of dicks?
Were there other individuals around the traffic stop other than the defendant and the driver?
Not that I can remember.
Do you recall anyone walking through the scene and asking about the restaurant next door?
I don't remember that.
So your testimony is if there was someone else on the video, you would have been ordering that person to back up 21 feet.
I would have first asked them to back up, and most people do. And then if they did not comply, then I'd give them a specific area to back up to.
Your lax safety view, where people have to be psychic and know if anyone is a risk, is how planes get crashed into buildings. I mean, go watch Jimmy Dore on that. I guess Jimmy Dore is a conspiracy theorist now too, right? So I'm going to respectfully suggest that you may not know exactly what you're talking about, and the truth might not be exactly what is reported by the government, because the government, believe it or not, does and will and can lie to its citizens a lot. Oh my God. Yeah, and 9/11 was a long fucking time ago, and they stripped away a lot of freedoms over that. They put a lot of restrictions on America over one incident that is questionable at best as to whether or not it was a actual organic terrorist threat.
You ordered him not to speak to the driver, is that correct?
Yes, well, I remember asking to back up. I don't remember if I specifically asked him not to speak to the driver. I think I may have said, don't talk to her, or something to that effect.
Did you speak to her before you got out of your patrol vehicle or afterwards?
One of many.
Before. I saw DeCastro filming. I stayed in my vehicle.
I'm
continued my
not a
business.
truther.
Then when I saw him speak,
I don't know either way, and you don't either.
Did you see him speak to the driver after you exited the vehicle at any point?
I don't remember if he spoke to the driver after I exited.
At any point, did you hear specifically what he may have said to the driver?
No, I was too far away and it was going to be.
Is your position that anytime you're engaged in a traffic stop, nobody can speak to the driver?
They can speak to them at a reasonable distance.
And is that 21 feet?
It could be shorter, it could be longer. It again depends on the environment, totality, circumstances.
So what the officer is saying here is it has to be from a reasonable distance, and we don't know what a reasonable distance is. It could be shorter, it could be longer. We don't know, but it has to be reasonable. And reasonable to who? To the officer. The officer essentially gets to dictate control of every situation that he's involved in, because he's got a badge, he's got a gun, he's got a vest, and he's in fear of his safety.
Do you think people can easily verbally communicate at 21 feet?
No, not without shouting.
Did at some point the defendant inform you that he was a member of the press?
He did.
Did that influence any of the orders you chose to give or not give to the defendant?
No, it doesn't matter.
So, if I had said that the government lied about everything, then that would be a valid point. I didn't. I said, you don't know, and I don't know. We don't know, because the government can and does lie. So, what was that? What was that one where they ran guns to Mexico? I mean, that was all government lies. They literally ran guns. It's not like it's fake. They gave LSD to people. The government told black men specifically that they were going to treat them for syphilis, but they didn't treat them for syphilis. And they just watched them suffer and get sicker. I mean, like, there are known lies that the government has done. Fast and Furious. Thank you. There are known lies. I don't care if it turns people off instantly. I don't fucking care. The truth turns people off. I really don't fucking care about it. Like, the government has lied to you. The government does lie to you. Cops can lie to you. Cops will lie to you. Like, these are truths. Like, there was an 8-point plan to get Japan to declare war on the US before World War II. And we did every single thing in that 8-point plan. You can look it up on Wikipedia. Like it's I'm just fucking saying, bro. I'm just saying. I don't know if 9/11 is or isn't as reported in the media. I don't know. But there's a lot of things that are coming out that increase my questions of it. Before the coup came out, I thought anti-vaxxers were all fucking idiots. I had argument after argument with the anti-vaxxers because they're fucking dumb and they're fucking wrong, and I knew better, and trust the science, bro. And then the coup came. And now I'm like, maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. Is really where I'm at now. Maybe I'm not fucking as smart as I think I am, because it appears that we were lied to, not a little bit, but a lot. And it wasn't for our health and benefit that we were lied to. It was for other reasons that we were lied to. So, I mean, I don't really care. I don't monetize my channel. I don't care if you like me or dislike me. I don't care if you watch or don't watch. Things are the way they are. And, you know, just like I'm honest about when I watch a video, like when I watch a court case or when I read a pleading, I'm honest about, you know, I see this way, I see that way, this is right, this is wrong. I mean, I'm not gonna lie about anything. At least as far as I can help it.
Why does it not? What is your basis of that statement? I guess.
Media, reporters, and standard citizens, they treat them all the same.
So you becoming aware that somebody is a member of the press does not affect your decision making in reference to your
All citizens are members of the press.
First Amendment training?
No, and how was I to know that he was a member of the press? Whenever I interact with members of the press, they usually identify what station they're with or a group that they're with. They usually have some sort of identification name badge, and we have a good relationship with press out here. They don't approach us the way that DeCastro did.
Are you familiar with the difference between traditional press or independent media?
Yes, but again, independent media would approach us more respectfully than DeCastro.
Is your opinion that traditional media has different rights than new media, independent media?
Objection, Your Honor. At this point, I think we're well beyond the scope of.
Sustained.
Thank you.
And force indulgence, I apologize.
Mea culpa.
Your testimony is, if I recall correctly, that you received First Amendment training when you initially went through your officer training.
Yes,
And then you received one follow-up after that.
I can't, no, it's more than one. I don't know exactly how many. Typically that training is annual.
Why can't all citizens be members of the bar? Because the bar isn't controlled by the Constitution. That's why.
And your testimony, just to reiterate, this is the first time you've experienced a First Amendment issue of this nature in your career?
Objection, I believe I objected to that question when it was posed as a violent encounter and it was sustained. And I also objected on the grounds of relevance, as the court indicated, what we're concerned about is his interaction with the defendant specifically. And so I object.
Sustained, I'm concerned about this interaction.
Do you recall during your interactions with the defendant that you told him that you believed First Amendment auditors often pull out guns and shoot people?
They didn't say that they often do that.
Do you recall what you said?
I don't. I would have said that he was a stranger to me and that officers get ambushed all the time. It could have been a First Amendment auditor. It could have been a regular citizen. It could have been a cook from one of the places nearby. I wouldn't have specifically said that First Amendment auditors are at high risk.
And again, just to reiterate, your testimony is that
Objection, I mean, anytime it's prefaced as just to reiterate, I feel like I should object on an asked and answered ground, and I'm not, just to hear it, but it just sounds like a reiteration of the question that I've previously asked, so my objection is asked and answered.
I'm going to ask this question before everyone's objection.
again, I'm just trying to clarify because I think this point was ambiguous, but do you recall the defendant telling you that he was a member of the press during the interaction?
Asked and answered.
What's his name?
No further questions, Your Honor.
Will you direct?
No, thank you.
Thank you, officer. You may sit down.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Officer, stand by the end, please.
Is the state rest?
At this point, we do.
Does the defense have any witnesses?
Your Honor, I call Jose De Castro.
Generally speaking, now I'm not saying specifically in this particular case, generally speaking, it is not necessarily a wise move to put your client on the stand. They might inadvertently say something or have something they say taken out of context in such a way as it might harm their case. So generally speaking, it's not a good idea. In this particular case, I don't think it's going to change anything. Again, the video damns Chille just out of the gate. So there's really no coming back from the video. The officer interaction with him, I mean, there you go. So it doesn't really hurt to put Chille on the stand at this point because, I mean, you know, it is what it is at this point. Well, let's see if Chille can control his temper and his ego.
Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
And why doesn't he have his collar button and his tie up? Did his neck get too fat? Because it doesn't look professional to have your top button unbuttoned and your tie loose.
Please be seated.
Mr. Castro, before you testify, I'm obligated to inform you that you have the right to testify in this proceeding, but you also have the right to remain silent. And should you choose to remain silent, I may not hold that against you in making my decision. Do you understand that?
I do.
Do you still wish to testify?
Yes, I do.
All right, please go ahead.
You have a YouTube
And that haircut is just terrible.
Yes, I do.
Can you give some insight into what that channel is about?
Objection, relevance.
Yeah, what is relevant. He's trying to make this about everything but the obstruction and resisting. He's trying to make it about everything but. So we'll see how much the judge lets him go down this little rabbit hole.
Relevant.
Your Honor, the relevance is that we're presenting a First Amendment defense, and the defendant is a member of the press. There's different standards for First Amendment rulings where there's public policy at issue. He can give insight into that.
I'm going to allow it for a bit and see where it goes.
Yes, I do have a YouTube channel, and the reason I have a YouTube channel is because of how many cops kill people every year. How many cops?
Objection, non-responsive, everything after yes. Objection, narrative.
Hurt, maim, torture, rape, and kill people every single year. It's such an epidemic that the rest of the world, I get thousands of emails saying, only in America does this happen. I started filming cops because when I was cheated in 2002.
Objection at this point.
Finally, we get an objection. Look at Chille's what the fuck face. You're objecting to me? What the fuck? Who's this bitch objecting to me?
Relevance.
Well, this is the between the member of the press.
This narrative.
He's gonna fucking argue the objection. Oh my god. Oh Jesus.
So can you ask him a question?
At this point.
America
Relevant.
does this
I gotta
happen. I
listen to
started
this
filming
again.
cops because when I was cheated in 2002.
Objection at this point. Relevance.
Well, this is the between the member of the press.
This narrative.
So can you ask him a question?
Oh Jesus.
Yes, Your Honor. What type of films do you make for your YouTube channel?
I only film police in their official capacity. I'm known across the country and across the world.
And
Obviously, if me did try to coach Chille on how to answer questions, Chille didn't pay any fucking attention because Chille's smarter. Just so that I can add some context. These are my general rules of answering any questions at deposition or trial. These are always what I coach my clients to do. Rule number 1, you wait 5 seconds before you answer any question. It doesn't matter if it's a stupid question like, please state your name. You count to 5 slowly in your head. 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, 5, 1,000. Every time, all the time, every time. That gives me time to object. I'm not a super genius. I need to think about what was just asked, and I need to have time to formulate my objection. And the client needs to answer consistently. If every time he waits 5 seconds before he answers, if every time he waits 5 seconds before he answers, then no one can say, like, he waited, like, why did he wait on this question? You can't draw any conclusions from it because you wait 5 seconds before you answer any questions. Rule number 2, if you could answer a question yes or no, you answer it yes or no, and then you shut the fuck up. Did you yell at your wife? Yes. Done. That's it. I will follow up with cross-examination or redirect if I have to, whatever it is. If you can answer a question yes or no, you answer it yes or no, and then you shut the fuck up. Not all questions can be answered in yes or no. So you get to use one sentence or less. One sentence or less. If you could answer any, there's no question that opposing counsel can ask you that I can't object to that can't be answered in one sentence or less. If it needs 2 sentences to answer it, then it's compound question, and I get to object to it based on it being a compound question. So you sit there and you think as long as you have to answer the question in 1 sentence or less. Now, the judge might be able to see how long it takes you to answer, but a court of appeal won't be able to see. They'll just get a transcript and they'll just see question asked, question answered, question asked, question answered. And so a court of appeal won't be able to draw an inference from it. And if you're a deposition, again, there'll just be a transcript unless it's a video deposition, but you get the point. So 1 sentence or less, you take as long as you need to answer it in 1 sentence or less. Number 4, you won't always know the answer. So don't guess. Say, if you don't know the answer, you say, I don't know. If they ask you for an estimate, you can give them an estimate. Like, how tall is your wife? Well, maybe you don't know exactly how tall she is, but you live with her. You could say, oh, my wife is 5'4", right? I estimate my wife is 5'4". But don't guess. If I ask you how tall is my wife, well, you've never met my wife. You don't know. So you wouldn't be able to give an answer. So you'd say, I don't know. And then the 5th rule, it's a very simple rule. Don't lie. No matter how bad you think the truth is going to hurt you, a lie will hurt you worse. So there's 5 rules. Number 1, wait 5 seconds before you answer. Number 2, if you can answer yes or no, you answer yes or no, then you shut the fuck up. If you can't answer yes or no, 1 sentence or less. Take as long as you need to think about it, but 1 sentence or less. Number 4, if you don't know, you say, I don't know. And number 5, tell the truth. Never lie. So there are 5 rules. And watch to see how many of these Chille can actually follow.
Why do you engage in that type of filming?
So I'm going to ask you, Mr. Mead, to direct your questions about the incident in question.
The reason I was filming Mr. Dwork that day,
Oh, Chille wants to answer this question.
Objection, Your Honor. Oh, I'm sorry.
So
It wasn't a question posed, so.
Mr. DeCastro, on the question, why did you approach that vehicle?
I was filming that cop because that's what I do for a living. I'm a member of the press and I invoked my right to be press. I always invoke my right to be press within the first 10 seconds of engaging with police. And I have thousands of videos that prove this.
You don't have to invoke your right to be press. Either you are press or you aren't press, but being press does not grant you any special privileges. Well, so let me rephrase that. You are press. You are press. The people have the right to report on what they see.
this is how you make money.
This is not how specifically I make money. I make money from selling legal documents to people.
Okay, go ahead.
Do you recall the officer?
I make money from selling legal documents to people. Oh, what a fucking tool bag. Under oath. What a fucking tool bag.
Telling you to back up?
Yes, I do.
And what did you do after he told you to back up?
I took a couple steps back. I just showed him that I was willing to back up a little bit. However, if I may, in Arizona, they created a 10-foot law.
Objection, relevance, we're not in Arizona.
That is a valid objection. We're not in Arizona.
It's the state of Nevada.
So
So like another thing is like I've had clients before. I have clients right now who are very expressive, like Chille is, and you got to coach them. Like just keep a stone face. Like Chille is emoting. He's an actor. He's emoting. He's trying to emote, and he's expressing all of his frustrations and irritations on his face. And it's annoying. It's annoying to the judge. It's annoying to the jury. It's not endearing. You sit there with stone face and you answer the questions.
Oh, I'm gonna allow it because I think that goes to why he kept saying 10 feet in the video, even though I will take judicial notice that you're not in the state of Arizona, you're in the state of Nevada.
Well, a federal judge struck it down, Your Honor.
Well, I don't know if it technically does or doesn't. He said it under oath. I mean, if he says it, period, well, I mean, he does it. So I don't know. But it's stated under oath in a court of law. It's published on the internet. It's easily available. A court could take judicial notice of it because it's well, in theory, a court could take judicial notice of it. I guess it would depend on the state. I don't know. It's not good. I wouldn't do it.
And
Stop. Can you ask me a question?
Oh, here we go. Taking judicial notice is a rule, the law of evidence, laws of fact to be, yeah.
I'm gonna allow it because
the 10-foot law.
Objection, relevance, we're not in Arizona, it's the state of Nevada.
so I'm gonna allow it because I think that goes to why he kept saying 10 feet in the video, even though I will take judicial notice that you're not in the state of Arizona, you're in the state of Nevada.
Well, a federal judge struck it down, Your Honor. And
Stop. Can you ask me a question?
He's trying to argue with the fucking judge. Oh my God. Don't argue ever with the fucking judge. I mean, an attorney may respectfully raise issues with rulings or things like that to the judge, but the client, the witness, the defendant should never argue with the judge.
Yes, Your Honor.
And did you see that little look on his face?
Stop. Can you ask me a question?
That look? I mean, you want to piss the judge off.
Yes, Your Honor. Approximately how many feet did you back up?
I backed up a foot or two. I was at least 10 feet away from that car that the driver was pulled over in.
I backed up a foot or two. Well, I mean, is that reasonable? If a cop tells you to back up, does he mean to back up a foot or two? Probably not. Probably not. I don't know.
And when you spoke to the driver, what did you say?
Just after she was okay. But the reason I filmed police is because they abuse people so often.
Do you recall the officer telling you not to speak with the driver?
Yes,
And did you make any statements to the driver after that camera was given?
absolutely not.
Did the officer ever give you a specific distance to back up to?
No, he didn't.
If you did, would you comply with that?
Sure,
Did you believe you were complying with the officer's command?
100%. I also informed him I'm a member of the press and a constitutional law scholar, that this is what I do.
Do you recall the officer explaining to you why he decided to arrest you?
There's several parts to the reason why he said he was going to arrest me. He said he was going to arrest me because I wouldn't turn my head a certain direction. If I didn't turn and face the car with my head, that he would place me under arrest instead of just giving me a ticket.
Do you recall him explaining why he decided to detain you before he arrested you?
Yeah, but I mean, if you are detained, and if a cop says to face a direction, I mean, yeah, once you're detained, rules change. You're no longer just an average citizen. You've now been detained. The circumstances are different, and the cops can and should have more control over you at that point. As long as Terry v. Ohio exists, which I don't think it should, but that's a different story. But as long as Terry v. Ohio exists, as long as the cops have the right to detain you short of arrest, while you're detained, the cops should have control over you. Number one, they're responsible for your safety at that point. So you could sue them if they fail to protect you. So you should have to follow their instructions. They have custody of you. It's different once you're detained.
He decided to detain me because he said I was obstructing, which from my understanding is a physical act where I would have to get in the way. He said that the driver deserves privacy. I believe my First Amendment rights are not up for feelings.
Did he explain to you that the basis of your detention was related primarily to the issue of privacy or the issue of you backing up?
Well, I think from the officer's testimony, we can see that he's scared of the driver, scared of me, scared of everything. They teach them to be afraid.
Could he argue it? Yes. Would he prevail? No. I haven't seen any ineffective assistance of counsel at this point.
Everything. So I have two officers' testimony. We can see that he's scared of the driver, scared of me, scared of everything. They teach them to be afraid of everything. So I have two cameras out. It's identified as a member of the press. I'm sorry, repeat the question. I want to get specific for the record.
Sure. The question was, did the officer explain to you that the basis of your detention was because of you not backing up or because of the privacy issue of the driver?
It was both. He said that he told me to back up. I backed up a little bit. And he said, she deserves privacy. And then I told him to go get in your car, little doggy, and write your ticket. And at that point, his face turned beet red, and his veins.
I don't think that testimony is going to help Chille. Because the court's going to be like, why were you? The court's here's why I don't think it's going to help Chille. While cops have to accept a certain level of criticism, go back to the start of the video, the marshal was enforcing the judge's order, and Chille attempted to control the situation and not allow the marshal to enforce the court's order. So the judge is going to have both of these things in her mind. His antagonism towards her marshal reinforces his antagonism towards the police officer. So, like, it was not a wise line of answering on Chille's part.
His neck stuck out because we were over 20 feet away, and you had to holler to hear each other because the wind was 30 miles an hour.
You had to holler. You had to holler.
Did you at any point attempt to hit any of the officers involved?
No, absolutely not.
Did you intentionally swat any of the officers?
So there is currently no charge pending for resisting arrest. So technically the DA could object to this, but
Absolutely not. He was giving me unlawful commands. I should not have been detained after I identified as a member of the press. If he ever reached a hand out towards me, I wrestle and teach MMA, and I have for 30 years. So it's just a natural reaction as I'm retreating from somebody. If I
you fucking idiot! Holy Jesus! Just like Bork got caught in a no, I didn't do this, but maybe I did it. Jesus fucking Christ, Chille, you're a goddamn retard.
may have put my hand up, as he said, as he testified himself, I certainly am a law-abiding citizen. I don't break the law. So I would not have tried to assault an officer under any circumstances.
I'm a law-abiding citizen. I don't break the law. I just get arrested for breaking the law. I mean, if a defendant says he's a law-abiding citizen and doesn't
Is it
break the law,
possible that
then obviously he doesn't. But then he goes on about his MMA and his history and how he might have just done it automatically as a defensive maneuver, but then says he didn't do it. Like, just fucking shut the fuck up.
during the interaction there was inadvertent contact between the officer?
Sure, he decided to go hands-on with me when he was giving me unlawful commands. And there's absolutely no reason for it. I was willing to comply with anything he asked within reason, because I don't want to have a fist fight with another man on the street.
He's implying, he's literally implying that he wants to have a fist fight with the cop. That's what he's implying. That he's willing to do.
Do you recall the officer ordering you to go to his patrol vehicle?
I do.
And what did you do in response to that?
Initially, I told him no, but then when he began to get physical with me,
Initially, I told him no, i.e., I refused to comply. And then he had to go hands-on to force compliance.
he started to grab me and touch me. I said, okay, I'll go over to your car. His car was 35 feet away. I then led him to his car. It's on video, you can see it. I walked right up to his car, and then he insisted still on grabbing me. After he saw me pull out an additional phone, which that's what press people do. We have lots of cameras on us.
And did you inform the officer that you were a member of the press?
Oh, several times. It's in the transcripts. I've transcribed them myself several times.
I know. I know he was charged with resisting and not with assault. The officer testified why he didn't charge him with assault. I know. If, however, you assault a cop, if you testify to assaulting a cop, even though you're not charged with it, then it makes the resisting look a lot more plausible, doesn't it? I mean,
The officer that you were a member of the press.
Oh, several times. It's in the transcripts. I've transcribed them myself several times. I told him I'm a member of the press.
I've transcribed them several times myself. Yeah. Did you get them from a court reporter, somebody who's going to testify or give a certified copy for the court? No. Crazy.
And did you explain to the officer that you have a background in constitutional law?
Yes, I told him I'm a constitutional law scholar, which was the moniker given to me by other people who are also, they have their own channels, their own press. And that's what some other lawyers on another channel called me 3 years ago. And I said,
Some other lawyers called me a constitutional law scholar. So I'm a constitutional law scholar. Some lawyers called me, some unnamed lawyers called me a constitutional law scholar. I am guessing that they didn't, or if they did, I'm guessing it was sarcasm. Just a guess.
it's adapted the moniker.
And just to get some further background, were you looking for police to report on this particular day?
No, there's cops hide on the side of the road to pull people over. It's pretty regular in our country. I was just in the parking lot there. I saw that Mr. Bork had somebody pulled over, concerned for her safety. I began to film.
And why do you think that law enforcement traffic stops are relevant to the public?
That's where most people get killed.
Objection, relevance.
Objection, relevance. Stating that question, which is right.
Same.
I'll pass the witness around.
I have no questions for the citizens. Thank you.
Sir, you step down.
Oh, the DA was like, oh, he fucking sunk his own ship. I don't even need to cross him. Oh my God. Oh, that is awesome.
This is Ben Trust.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, the argument by the state.
Your Honor, the state has to find the defendant guilty of both obstructing a public officer as well as resisting a public officer charge against him. The video very adequately portrays, and I don't think it's disputed by the defendant, what the context was of the interaction with the officer. I venture to say that had the defendant just complied with the original order to not engage with the driver and to back up, we wouldn't be here. He wouldn't have found himself further engaging with Officer Bork. This is not a First Amendment issue. As you heard over and over and over again on video, Officer Bork did not have a problem with the defendant recording. It's not a First Amendment issue. It's an officer safety issue. Here, you have an officer who conducted a lawful traffic stop. You saw the nature of the stop. There was no animosity between the officer and the driver. It was rather peaceful. They were engaged, banter back and forth. He would have, as he testified, he was trying to determine whether he was going to cite her or let her go with a warning. And then you have an individual, the defendant, introduce himself to the situation. Traffic stops, Your Honor, are inherently dangerous, particularly in crowded parking lots. I guess anywhere, I would venture to say. This officer was reasonable in thinking that anyone who approached in the manner the defendant approached his scene would have a reason to fear for his safety, or at least be suspicious of this individual's motives coming in. The officer had no problem with the reporting. The officer had no problem with the defendant observing. It was when he inserted himself into this lawful detention that was occurring with the Hyundai driver that the officer turned his attention onto the defendant. This is not a First Amendment issue. This is an individual who took what he perceived to be his rights too far. The officer was well within his right, as well as acting reasonably when he asked him to back up. That 21-foot rule, it's appropriate. He said that was the training that they received in terms of the distance that's allowed for someone who needs to do them harm. It's a threat assessment. We don't know when the defendant approached whether he had a gun concealed, whether he had a knife concealed, whether he had other weapons. And you'll hear multiple times in the video, Officer Bork yelling, "Stop reaching, stop reaching." This is an unknown, when defense counsel asked Officer Bork all of these questions about how it is that you do this, and Officer Bork kept responding, it depends on the situation, it depends on the totality of the circumstances. Here was an officer acting alone, individually, engaged one-to-one with a driver. He had no problem with it. You insert another individual who
That's a harder call. It depends on how good Mies voir dire skills are, how well they could stack the jury. Generally speaking, I think more people find Chille to be distasteful than not. I think generally speaking, most people are pro-police than not. I think most people view the video of Chille's interference in the traffic stop negatively. I think Chille's behavior at the beginning, his interaction with the bailiff and the judge would have negatively impacted their. It would have colored their view of him. I don't know if they would have been present at that time though. It's not a popular opinion to question law enforcement. So I think a jury would have, assuming the jury had did the sentencing as well, I think a jury would have done as bad or worse than the judge did as far as the amount of sentencing. Chille could have gotten more time, is essentially what I'm saying.
Who enters the scene in the manner that the defendant did. And now this officer's attention is going to be divided. He had every reason to fear for his safety as well as that of the driver. Again, if he had just complied with the officer's commands or demands to back up, and a lot was made about, hey, he didn't have to tell the defendant. As the officer testified, even just with the, hey, back up, the defendant didn't back up, not willingly. That's why the officer had to continue to engage with him and force him into the situation. Had he complied, he would not have been charged with obstruction. Had he complied initially, he would not have been charged with resisting. The officer was, you are going to have to assess credibility. There's nothing in the video or Officer Ward's testimony that would cause the court to question his veracity.
I hate long closing arguments where the attorney just repeats him or herself over and over again.
Or his intention for that matter. He was very honest in that he didn't believe the defendant wasn't trying to harm him necessarily with the SWAT. That's why the defendant was charged with the battery on a protected person or police officer. But that SWAT, Your Honor, I would argue, was meant to resist. At that point in time, the officer was trying to detain him and subsequently arrest him on the obstruction as depicted in the video. And so at this point, I think we proved by beyond a reasonable doubt that the defendant did hinder Officer Ward's investigation and detention of the Hyundai driver, and that he resisted the officer's arrest and or attempt to arrest him. And so we would ask that you find the defendant guilty of both.
Thank you.
Yes, Your Honor. So first of all, you cannot obstruct an unlawful order. I disagree with the state that this is not a First Amendment issue. The First Amendment in this context actually has two parts. There's the filming and the right to film within a reasonable distance. The case law in all federal circuits, Your Honor, there's no 21 feet rule that's been approved by any court of which I'm aware. That there is a 10-foot rule. That seems to be the rule that is applied by most of the federal circuits in interpreting the First Amendment.
Yeah, so everyone who's giving a closing argument has the judge's full attention. If you look, me has the judge's full attention right now. The judge will never. So the judge, when witnesses are testifying and things like that, you'll see the judge taking notes. That's pretty common. Judges will take notes during this, but during closing arguments, there's no evidence being offered, and so the judge will just pay attention to the person giving the closing argument to see if closing arguments highlight something that maybe the judge missed or points to a factor like a element that maybe, like if me could point to an element that the state hadn't proved at this point, that would be something that the judge would want to take notice of. And you say she's not repeating. She was like basically all she had to say was, the Officer Bork testified to this, and this. DeCastro testified to this, and this. These are all the elements of the crimes. The state has proven the elements of the crimes, and that really ends it. So yes, she did repeat herself. She said the same thing multiple times in multiple different ways. I understand that you're antagonistic to me, Tonto, because you and I don't share the same beliefs about the infallibility and the big brother kind of nature, the good faith nature of the federal government or any government. But I mean, I get it. You're on the state side. I'm not. I'm more. I don't really care either way. I mean, I already know the outcome. I'm not here to stump for one side or the other. So, I mean, if you think I'm pro Chille, you haven't been watching my channel very long, dude. Like, I'm not pro Chille, but I'm also not pro government. So I don't have a dog in this race, or a horse in this race, whatever it is. So I'm just saying that she was repeating herself. Anyway, I give you too much attention.
I submitted a match brief that kind of goes through that issue, if the board's had a chance to review that.
I don't have that. When did you submit it?
It was submitted yesterday.
Oh, he says he submitted case law on it, because I don't know that most federal courts have determined that there is a 10-foot rule. That'd be news to me. It was mentioned in Glick, I believe, in the that's First Circuit. Glick mentioned in discussing the facts of that case that I believe that that the plaintiff was approximately 10 feet away from the incident in a park. And people have, in the First Amendment community, have latched onto that as some sort of a bright line rule that as long as you're 10 feet away, then everything's hunky dory. And you can do whatever you want as long as you're 10 feet away from a cop. I don't think that is the case, though. I don't know of a federal circuit that's made any bright line rule that 10 feet is the magic number.
That is applied by most of the federal circuits in interpreting the First Amendment. I submitted a match brief that kind of goes through that issue, if the board's had a chance to review that.
I don't have that.
I submitted a brief. Interesting. If anybody has a copy of that brief, I would love to get a copy of it and review it. Have a dog in the fight, have a horse in the race. I mixed my metaphors. I'm sorry. I'm not a good person. But if someone has a copy of that brief that me allegedly submitted to the court, I would love to get a copy of it. If someone could get it to me, I'd appreciate it.
When did you submit it?
It was submitted yesterday.
I mean, at this point, I would move to strike because it's untimely, but I got it this morning when I walked into court.
So the officer's testimony to that, there's essentially this 21-foot distance where anybody can charge an officer and cause physical harm to an officer. If that is applied universally, Your Honor, it totally diminishes and violates the First Amendment. That is, as the officer testified, a 21-foot radius that he can attempt to impose. I believe his testimony was anytime there's not an obstacle between a person and somebody that law enforcement is interacting with. And that's just not what the law requires, Your Honor. The First Amendment gives their media, new media, old media, it gives individuals the right to film government agents. There's no dispute that that's the requirement. And if the officer is applying this 21-foot circumference to all law enforcement interactions, he's effectively eliminated the ability to film law enforcement.
Elbow counsel or secondary counsel, it's where essentially you would be pro per. You would be doing your own trial as the defendant, but you'd have that elbow counsel there to ask questions like, hey, what's the law on this? How can I proceed? Whatever. It is something that people who quote know better end quote than attorneys want to do, because they think they know better than the attorney does on how to prosecute a case or how to defend a case. But let me back up a little bit because I missed what was going on.
No dispute that that's the requirement. And if the officer is applying this 21-foot circumference to all law enforcement interactions, he's effectively eliminated the ability to film law enforcement going about their duties. The commands to not talk to the driver are also not based on any actual legal justification. There's no right to privacy.
I think you need to rewatch. The officer did want 21 feet, and he wanted to go back to a light pole by a truck that was in excess of the 21 feet that he kept talking about over and over again. You're retarded, sir. Jesus Christ.
In public, not based on any actual legal justification. There's no right to privacy in public, whether you're engaged with law enforcement or not. There
are rights to privacy in public, which is why you have a Fourth Amendment right to privacy even in public. The cops can't search you even in public. There is a right to privacy even in public. There are laws against things like upskirt filming or down blouse filming even in public. There are laws against surreptitious recording even in public. There are rights, there are privacy rights that you have even in public. The statement that keeps going around that I can't believe me is saying is that there's no right to privacy in public is so fucking wrong I mean, there are fewer. There's a lowered expectation of privacy in public, a lowered expectation, but you still have rights to privacy even in public. Fucking Christ, shitty lawyering. Well, I mean, and so at this point, for those of you who don't know, me is saying what his client wants him to say. And he's saying exactly what his client wants him to say, not because it's a winning argument, but because it's what his client wants him to say. He doesn't have a winning argument, so he's just going to say, I'm just going to say what my client wants me to say. Am I taking crazy pills? The officer said over and over and over again, 21 feet. And then he went on to say, well, 21 feet if there's no obstructions, but if there are obstructions, it might be less. So reasonable, but there are no obstructions here, which means he wanted him to back up 21 feet. And he said that there's a light pole that was 21 feet or so away or more by a truck. Like, Jesus Christ. He didn't specifically say, I want Chille to back up exactly 21 feet. You want him to back up 21 feet, which is a reasonable distance. Jesus Christ. Fucking assholes.
No requirements or no statute, no law that citizens can't interact with drivers that are interacting with law enforcement. So what's taking place here, Your Honor, is that this officer is taking it upon himself to
pretty much
act as the legislature created these rules that have no basis in any law, and in fact are contrary to the First Amendment. Again, you can't obstruct an unlawful demand, so there is no obstruction of justice here. Resisting arrest, Your Honor, the court can see the video. Essentially what happened is he walked over to the front of the vehicle. There was some dispute about why he was being detained. That was discussed. The case law in that area, Your Honor, is that it is an unlawful arrest, which it was in this case because they're essentially arresting him for violating these unlawful orders that they're pronouncing. Again, the case law is you can passively resist an unlawful arrest, and that's all that occurred. Thank you.
All right, Mr. DeCastro, please stand. The problem with
the officer testified that at the scene, he did not tell Chille a specific distance. That is correct. Maybe we're arguing different things, but he wanted Chille at trial. He testified that he wanted Chille to back up 21 feet. At the actual encounter, he did not say 21 feet. He said reasonable distance. At trial, he said reasonable distance was 21 feet. So maybe we're arguing apples and oranges here. At trial, he said he wanted Chille to back up 21 feet. Maybe in not as many words, but at trial, he said 21 feet. At the actual encounter, he didn't say, I want you to back up a reasonable, or maybe he did, I don't know. But at trial, he said specifically, or in the actual encounter, he said specifically that he did not state a specific distance. So maybe it's a misunderstanding, a poor communication between us. So. Well, you and I disagree. It may or may not be reasonable or unreasonable. I think that would depend a lot on the scenario, but I think a bright line rule of 21 feet is pretty fucking stupid. Because like a passenger in a car on a traffic stop, you're gonna make the passenger get out and move away 21 feet.
the argument that your attorney makes is it completely fails to consider the safety of the officer and the safety of the driver. The officer doesn't know who you are, and the driver doesn't know who you are. You don't have any right to interfere with that officer doing his investigation and deciding if he wants to issue a ticket to this driver. And you also don't have any business approaching the driver. The driver didn't ask you for help. The driver didn't say, help, help. You know, you didn't see an altercation happening between the officer and this driver. The officer didn't protest that you were filming. There's no problem with filming. You can film. It's fine. All right. But you did interfere with his investigation. You did interfere with his ability to do his job. You did put him in a position where he is concerned for his safety and safety of the driver. So I think the state's had their burden beyond reasonable doubt. I'm going to find you guilty of obstructing a public officer and resisting a public officer. So I'd like to hear from the state and then your attorney prior to sentencing.
Your Honor, in terms of sentencing, I would ask defendant enter and complete an impulse control class. I would ask that the court lobby a $500 fine or the equivalent in community service. I would ask that the defendant be ordered to stay out of trouble for the pendency of the case. And I would ask for a 90-day suspended sentence. And that's on as to each count to remain current.
The impulse control class, boy, Chille could actually use that.
That's our request.
Thank you.
Your Honor, I'm asking the court to sentence the defendant to credit for time served for these offenses. Even if the court concludes, and the court did conclude that he didn't have the right to do what he did, I think the court can see that he sincerely believed that he had the right to do so. That's based on his past experiences and the training he received in reference to the First Amendment. I don't think there was any intent from the defendant to engage in any wrongdoing in this case, Your Honor. And that being the case, especially because of the public policy interest at issue.
So when you say he doesn't wish to engage in any wrongdoing, it seems to me from observing him in the video that he wants this. He wants to get arrested. He wants to get into an altercation with police officers. He welcomes this. This helps his
The video fucking sunk him. I'm telling you.
YouTube channel. He called the officers here in my courtroom today pigs. He called and he's nodding his head up and down. So apparently he hates every law enforcement officer in the United States.
Oh my God. Oh my God. If my client was here, I would want to slap the motherfucking smuggler. Holy shit. Oh my God. Oh, fucking Christ. He's done. He's thumbs upping the judge's condemnation of him. He's thumbs upping the judge's condemnation of him. He's showing no remorse. Oh, my brain just exploded. Oh my God. Oh, fucking hell.
Please stand up, sir. Are you finished with your request for credit for time, sir? Enforcement officer here in my courtroom altercation with one.
Issue.
So when you say he doesn't,
This case, Your Honor, it's the First Amendment. I don't think there was any intent from the defendant to engage in any wrongdoing in this case, Your Honor. And that being the case, especially because of the public policy interest at issue.
so when you say he doesn't wish to engage in any wrong,
And the court did give the defendant to credit for time served, please. Your Honor, I'm asking the court to sentence the defendant to credit for time served for these offenses.
That's so in a lot of situations, the reason why it's not an unreasonable ask to be like, can you just sentence him to the time served, to the time you already spent in jail. Not an unreasonable ask in most situations.
Even if the
I wish I could see the look on Chille's face right now. Right now. I wish I could see the look on Chille's face before the judge starts into her condemnation.
court concludes, and the court did conclude that he didn't have the right to do what he did, I think the court can see that he sincerely believed that he had the right to do so. That's based on his past experiences and the training he received in reference to the First Amendment. I don't think there was any intent from the defendant to engage in any wrongdoing in this case, Your Honor. And that being the case, especially because of the public policy interest at issue.
so when you say he doesn't wish to engage in any wrongdoing, it seems to me from observing him in the video that he wants this. He wants to get arrested. He wants to get into an altercation with police officers. He welcomes this. This helps his YouTube channel. He called the officers here in my courtroom.
This helps his YouTube channel, and he bobs his head. This helps his YouTube channel, and he bobs his head. Talk about dumb.
Today pigs.
I don't know how much it helps his YouTube channel to be in jail where he can't make YouTube videos.
And he's nodding his head up and down. So apparently he hates every law enforcement officer in the United States. All right. Please stand up, sir. Are you finished with your request for credit for time, sir?
I just emphasize, Your Honor, that
Oh,
the
poor
defendant
me.
testified and he sincerely believes that he.
Oh, Chille just sat down again. The court told him to stand up, and Chille just fucking sat down again. Oh, Lord.
Service when he reviews and films these incidents. Sincerely believes that he is providing a public service when he reviews and films
And now Chille's shaking his head.
these incidents. I understand the court may have a different view of that, but when we're talking about First Amendment public policy issues such as supervising people involved in government, I think that is something the court can take into consideration. Not that Let's go on.
All right. Mr. Castro, please stand. I hereby sentence you to 90 days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 1, 90 days in the Clark County Detention Center on count 2, to run consecutive for a total of 180 days in custody. Thank you.
Sentence suspended or?
Oh, no, I can start right now.
Assistant Chancellor of Justice. Unbelievable. I don't like this. Okay, you don't have to do this. I want to clean it. Just give me the card. Yeah. You want to keep it? You keep it. I'll get your stuff. Get hold of my sister James.
Mm. Mm. Well, I have one bit of advice to Chille. Don't piss in the shitter. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.